The sun was a molten coin, sinking low behind the dry hills of Dust Valley, painting the sky in blood and gold. The town lay half asleep. A few horses tied outside the saloon, the sound of boots on creaky wood, and wind carrying whispers of old sins. That's when he rode in, a tall man on a gray stallion, wearing a weathered duster and a black hat pulled low. His name was Luke Carver, once a bounty hunter, now a man running from his past. His revolver hung heavy at his side, not for money this time, but for something he couldn't name. The townsfolk stared as he passed. They had seen killers, drifters, and drunk cowhands before, but not a man who looked like he carried a whole graveyard in his eyes. When he stopped outside the Marshal's office, the dust swirled like ghosts around his boots. Inside, Marshal Reed, an older man with a half-gray beard, looked up from his desk. "Well, I'll be damned," he muttered. "Luke Carver, didn't expect to see your shadow again." Luke tipped his hat. "I'm not here for trouble, Marshal. Just looking for a quiet corner to rest." Reed leaned back, studying him. "You still carry that Colt? Then quiet's a hard thing to find." Luke gave a faint smile. "Maybe I'm done with the noise." There was a pause, long and heavy, before the Marshal spoke again. "You picked a bad time to come back, Luke. The town's got problems. Bandits hit the North ranches, the preacher's gone missing, and we got women with no men left to guard him." Luke's gaze didn't move. "Not my concern anymore." But the Marshal chuckled. "Maybe it will be. Tomorrow's the Founders' Festival. Every unmarried woman in town's coming to choose a husband. The preacher used to bless the unions, but now it's me standing in his place." He poured 2 shots of whiskey and slid one to Luke. "Pick any bride you like," Reed said with a grin. "Hell, maybe settling down's the only law you ain't broken yet." Luke didn't laugh. "I ain't the marrying kind." "Maybe not," said Reed. "But sometimes life don't ask your kind." That night, Luke stayed at the Dusty Spur Inn. Sleep didn't come easy, not with memories crawling up from the dark. He saw faces he couldn't forget, and one face he wished he could. A woman with auburn hair. A little girl's laugh echoing behind her. He woke with a start, sweat cold on his neck. The next morning, Dust Valley came alive. Banners fluttered between buildings, fiddles played, and laughter filled the air. The Founders' Festival had begun, with a crowd of lonely men, widowed women, and lost souls hoping for new beginnings. Marshal Reed stood on the wooden stage. "Now listen up, folks," he called. "Today, as tradition holds, those wishing for a lawful union may step forward. Choose wisely, 'cause tomorrow life begins anew." Luke stood back near the post, arms crossed. He wasn't part of this nonsense, until he heard a voice. "Papa." He turned. A little girl no older than 6 stood by the pie stand, blue eyes wide, golden curls tangled by the wind. Behind her, a young woman froze, widow, holding a small basket of bread. Her hands trembled as she whispered, "Lily, no." But the child ran straight toward Luke. "Papa," she cried again, wrapping her tiny arms around his leg. The whole crowd went silent. Luke stared down at her, stunned. I think you got the wrong man, sweetheart." But the little girl looked up with innocent certainty. "Mama said Papa was brave and tall. You're him." The widow rushed forward, face red with embarrassment. "Lily, that's enough. I'm so sorry, mister. She lost her father last winter. She don't know." Marshal Reed stepped down from stage, eyebrows raised. "Well, Luke, looks like one of our young ladies already made her choice." Laughter rippled through the crowd. Luke's jaw tightened. He looked at the woman. Her eyes were soft but tired, full of the kind of pain only loss can carve. She looked away, clutching her daughter's hand. Reed smirked. "Guess it's settled, huh? Pick any bride you like," I said, "but seems like the little girl picked for you." The laughter grew louder. Luke wanted to disappear, but something, in the widow's trembling hands, or the little girl's innocent trust, stopped him. He crouched, met the child's eyes, and said quietly, "What's your name, darling?" "Lily," she whispered. He nodded once. "Well, Lily, I ain't your papa, but I reckon I can walk you and your mama home." The widow hesitated. "You don't have to." "Maybe I do," Luke said, and as they walked through Dust Valley's dusty streets, with whispers following them like wind through broken fences, Luke Carver realized something he hadn't felt in years. A reason to stay. The sun dipped behind the canyon, throwing long shadows across Dust Valley. Luke Carver had spent the day repairing the widow's fence, mending the broken gate with rough, calloused hands. The woman, Clara Hensley, had protested at first, but there was gratitude in her eyes she couldn't hide. Lily sat nearby, braiding wildflowers into the mare's mane and humming a tune only children remember. For the first time in years, Luke felt peace. No gunfire. No one at posters. Just the sound of life trying to rebuild itself. When the sun sank, Clara called softly from the porch. "Supper's ready, Mr. Carver." He nodded, washed his hands in the water trough, and stepped inside the small, candle-lit cabin. The air smelled of stew and bread. Simple things he hadn't known he missed. Lily sat between them, eating happily. Clara's hand shook a little as she poured him coffee. "You don't have to call me mister," Luke said quietly. "Just Luke'll do." She smiled faintly. "All right, Luke." There was silence for a while, only broken by Lily's laughter. Then Clara spoke again, her voice trembling. "Marshal Reed said you used to be a bounty hunter." Luke's eyes darkened. "Used to be." She nodded slowly. "My husband was a ranch hand. Got caught in the wrong place when those Ryder brothers raided the North Valley. They burned our home, killed everyone they found. Marshal said they moved south, near the canyons." Luke froze. That name, Ryder brothers, pulled him back into a past full of smoke and screams. He had once ridden with them, years ago, before he turned against them. He looked up, jaw tight. "You're sure it was them?" Clara's eyes filled with tears. "I saw their mark on the bar myself, and are branded into the wood." Luke pushed his chair back. "Then they ain't done yet." That night, as wind howled through the valley, Luke saddled his horse again. He didn't tell Clara where he was going, but she knew. "You can't face them alone," she whispered from the porch, her voice breaking. He stopped at the gate, hat low. "I've been running from our past for too long. Maybe tonight I catch up." Lily appeared behind her mother, clutching her doll. "Papa, don't go." The word hit him like a bullet, Papa. He turned, knelt, and placed his hand on her shoulder. "You listen to your mama, Lily. I'll be back before morning." Then he rode into the night, toward the canyon where shadows moved like devils. The Ryder brothers camped around a dying fire, laughter echoing off stone walls. Their leader, Jed Ryder, a cruel man with a scar across his face, spat into the flames. "Tomorrow we ride for Dust Valley," Jed said. "Marshal can't stop us. We'll take what's left." A voice cut through the darkness. "You ain't talking nothing." The firelight flickered, and Luke Carver stepped out of the shadows, gun drawn. Jed's eyes widened, then curved into a wicked grin. "Well, look who crawled back from the grave. Luke Carver, the traitor himself." "I didn't betray you," Luke said coldly. "I just quit being a monster." "Too late for redemption, brother," Jed sneered, standing up. "Boys kill him." 6 guns drew in unison. The night exploded. Luke dove behind a boulder, shots whizzing past. His revolver answered, quick, precise, deadly. One man fell, then another. The canyon lit up with muzzle flashes and screams. When the gunfire stopped, only Jed remained, wounded, limping toward the fire. "You think killing me changes anything?" Jed hissed. "The world don't forgive men like us." Luke holstered his gun slowly. "Maybe not, but maybe she will." He walked away, leaving Jed coughing in the dust, a ghost from a lifelong dead. By dawn, Luke returned to the valley, covered in soot and silence. Clara was waiting on the porch, arms wrapped around herself. When she saw him, tears welled in her eyes. "You're hurt," she whispered. "I've been hurt worse," he said softly. "It's done. They won't be coming back." For a long time, neither spoke. The wind carried the smell of rain, rare and pure. Then Lily ran out barefoot, clutching her doll. You came back, Papa. Luke froze, then knelt, pulling her close. This time, he didn't correct her. He looked at Clara. Guess she made up her mind. Clara laughed through her tears. Seems like she did. The Marshal arrived later that morning, tipping his hat with a grin. Well, Luke Carver, you clean up this valley and come back with a family. Looks like the good Lord's finally caught you. Luke smiled faintly. Reckon he had help. Sunrise epilogue. Months passed. Dust Valley found peace again. The saloon reopened, the ranches rebuilt, and laughter returned to the streets. On Sundays, Clara baked pies for the church fair. Lily ran through the fields chasing butterflies, and Luke fixed fences with his sleeves rolled up, the smell of dust and new beginnings around him. Sometimes, travelers passing through would whisper, "Ain't that Luke Carver, the bounty hunter?" But the townsfolk always smiled and said, "Not anymore. That there's Lily's papa." And as the sun set behind the golden hills, Luke would look out across Dust Valley, finally at peace, knowing that in a world full of guns and ghosts, love had given him something worth fighting for.